Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Health Check. I'm your host Malasen Abdullahi. On today's topic, we are going to discuss about fibroids, and my guest is Dr. Mohammed Karama, who is the acting Vice Chancellor of Umma University. Karibu, Doctor. So you can start by telling us what is fibroids.
Yes. Fibroids are actually some kind of tissues that grow, and particularly in women when they attain a certain age. These are tissues that can grow to different sizes, and in areas with poor health infrastructure, women are likely to think that they are pregnant, because quite often these fibroids grow in the uterus. Yes, so that's fibroid.
So at what age is women likely to get fibroids?
By the way, fibroids are a very common occurrence. There are certain conditions that are common in men and others in women. These fibroids occur in women. And women, when they attain the age between 30 and 40, they start experiencing the fibroids. And this is likely to occur more often to women and girls who start their menstrual period earlier than usual. Yes.
Are there signs that someone can know there's something wrong with them internally?
Yes. Fibroids, normally they would have some signs at a later stage when they are overgrown and they have affected other body organs. First of all, I want to say that fibroids can grow between 5 grams up to 5 kilograms or even more. We have known people who have fibroids that are as big as 10 kilograms or more. So these are things that when they grow to that level, then they take the place of other organs in the body. For example, they may put pressure on the bladder, which could hold the urine. And therefore, one of the symptoms that will occur at that time will be that somebody will be frequenting, the urination will be more frequent. And there may not be complete urination, so they will just feel like urinating time and again. This would be an indication that there is a problem. Another symptom would be that fibroids that affect the uterus also, which are referred to quite often as uterine fibroids, could affect the menstrual cycle. Somebody could be bleeding more than the usual. Or sometimes people would have an extended menstrual cycle. So one would suspect that there's a problem. There could be some pains sometimes, depending again on where the fibroid is. There could be some feeling of being lethargy, feel weak, so those are some of the symptoms that are attributable to to fibroids. However, the issue of people noticing them is that it may take time. Somebody may not notice, because some of them are harmless. They just grow and grow. But if they don't affect other systems, it may not have much symptoms. It will be harmless. But the other areas that it may affect includes when somebody becomes anemic, because you'll find that an individual will have excess bleeding, and so by excess bleeding then you become anemic. This will be demonstrated by the symptoms of anemia, pale eyes, pale hands, and feeling dizziness and so on. That will be a demonstration that there is a problem.
So once someone discovers these abnormalities with them and it turns out to be fibroids, what next?
I think it all depends on the individual. For example, if it affects, if there is pain, and if there is the other symptoms, excessive bleeding and prolonged menstrual periods, then naturally one will be required to seek health care. At all times we encourage people to seek health care, because then the extent of the problem will be diagnosed and somebody would be able to get treatment. However, in circumstances where fibroids do not have any harm, some people may not even notice. They might feel some difference in them. I remember one elderly lady, she said she has been pregnant for more than 3 years, and I knew that was fibroids because she was not pregnant as such. But that's the feeling a person feels, like you're carrying something in your stomach. So your question as to what next, I think it's important for people to be sensitized to seek medical care in good time, not only for fibroids but for any other diseases that could be there.
Let's say, is it genetic or does it just come out of nowhere?
The causes for fibroids are not very well known, but what we know is that 70 to 80% of women will have fibroids of different sizes and different locations in the body. However, what is known to be contributing to fibroids, it is the hormones, estrogen and the others, that make a woman be a woman. She has the signs, but that also contributes to the issue of the fibroids. So when a woman is still menstruating, she's more likely to get the fibroids. And the fibroids actually diminish naturally when people enter the menopause, when they cease to have their menstrual period with age. So it is a confirmation that the hormones that make a woman have the feminine structures, feminine feelings and whatever are the most likely contributing factor to the growth of fibroids in women. It could be genetic, but considering that a large number of women are affected, so we would say it's more of a feminine problem generally rather than genetic with different groups. However, I want also to say that African women are more likely to be affected by this problem than white people or others. So
Why
the
is
problem
that?
is more often with women, either due to their own structures or their lifestyle or something like that. But the problem is much more frequent in black women than in other society. So the issue of genetics possibly would come in as a concern for African people.
So in the process, someone is being treated for fibroids. Does it disappear, or is it just suppressed for some times?
Fibroids, there are different treatments. For example, fibroids could be removed by surgical, totally cutting off this growth in the uterus or in any other part. It can be also outside or anywhere else. And in such cases, then it will be totally removed. And sometimes it may not do any harm, so somebody may leave it there, but we have medication which makes it shrink. All right?
Yeah.
So some kind of medication like that. But persons who are likely to reach the menopause age actually encourage that if it is not harmful, then they can just wait, because when menopause creeps in, definitely the fibroids reduce slowly and then they disappear.
Let's say a young girl, maybe they discover they have fibroids, and then it has to be removed. Does it mean that they will have kids in future, or will it tamper with their organs?
That's a very pertinent question. Actually, the surgery, when it has to be done, consideration must be taken about the fertility. It's very important for medical persons who are looking at fibroids to see which part of the body it has affected, so that in the removal they don't totally destroy the uterus, or they don't reduce the fertility, because if the fibroids grow inside the uterus, it is likely that the eggs that are fertilized cannot attach to the uterus to grow through the process. So it is important that the medical persons looking at this are able to identify the extent and the location before they can determine. With regard to fertility, we have the fallopian tubes, which actually it's where the egg passes through. Sometimes when you have this overgrown fibroids, they block the fallopian tube. That might affect the passing of the egg, so it could affect fertilization. It could affect the fertility of the woman, and she may not be able to conceive. That is just the same case as when we have infections that block the fallopian tubes. So as far as the likelihood of a young girl who is infected or who has fibroids, it's not so common in the young. It starts after 30 years and so on. But it is possible that it could affect fertility, but it could be corrected. Interventions can be done. Some remedial measures can be done to ensure that the lady retains her capacity to conceive.
Can it kill?
Yes. For example, an overgrown fibroid that results in severe anemia, and it is not managed, it can easily cause death. So I don't know the purpose of your question, but for people to die in order to get people need to go to the hospital.
Yeah, if someone doesn't get proper treatment in the process of them having fibroids.
Yes. The complications of fibroids include anemia. People become anemic. They could even have high blood pressure and things like that. And if the fibroids have affected other organs, for example, they put too much pressure on other organs, it will also affect, and it could contribute to complications that may lead to death.
Does lifestyle has some part to play around with fibroids?
The lifestyle that might have an effect will include things like using birth control pills. Some of the birth control methods have this estrogen, which is the hormone that is supposed to be given once in a while, and some of the other birth control pills may have an effect in reduction, not necessarily to increase. But lifestyles, really, it's not so much of lifestyle issue. It's just a matter of if you fall within the age group and if you fall within the likely subgroups or ethnic background with genetic structures, that's how I think fibroids may be identified.
How often should women be going for checkups, so just in case there is something wrong, it is discovered early?
I think women should be going for checkups quite often, at least twice a year or quarterly, and if there are problems, then one should go more frequently to be checked on this. But since it's a major, it's a common occurrence, I think it is important that people should be conscious of the changes in their body so that they don't wait for the quarter or the 6 months. If you feel there are any symptoms that are likely to affect, then one can be able to get medical care.
You find some women go through some hormonal imbalance. Is there something like hormonal therapy or some medicine that they can take to balance their hormones?
Yeah, yes. Like I said, that fibroids could be contributed by the hormones that are feminine. They could be controlled, and therefore it could create a balance. And sometimes there are medications that can also assist in balancing hormonal structures in the body. So it is the most important thing, as we say, it's for people to be able to seek medical care. Yes.
You find some people, instead of going for the Western medicine, they go for herbs. What do you have to say about that?
I really want to encourage people to go for what is known. When I looked at your face, I thought you were suggesting that I'm encouraging people to go for herbals. But what I mean is that, this Western medicine, or what we refer to as conventional medicine, we know the dosage, we know its lifespan in the body, we know its action, we know its toxicity, we know how much would be useful, how much would be harmful. But our herbal medicine, unfortunately, they don't have these details. And now I would like to say I would encourage the herbal research on herbal and traditional medicine. Our forefathers survived for many years. They lived longer than us. Their life expectation was long. And they used traditional medicine. But unfortunately, we abandoned these treatments. and we went to conventional medicine. But now we are having people who are alleging to be experts in herbal medicine, and they would want to treat people, but they don't have the details of these herbal concoctions and how they work. So it's a bit risky to take this herbal medication if we don't have sufficient knowledge of their effect in our bodies.
How helpful should the men be helping women with such diseases?
I think understanding of men. If you have a wife or a mother, a daughter or something, we need to understand these are conditions that occur in women, and that at a certain point in time, in age, if such symptoms occur, and if you are responsible to somebody, you need to appreciate that fact. And especially in domestic relationships between husbands and wives, sometimes fibroids can cause painful interaction, sexual. And therefore, if such a situation occurs, men have to understand the situation. There are many efforts now, both in healthcare services and also government, to involve men in supporting their spouses. And that's crucial. And therefore, in Islam, it's much, much more encouraged. Although sometimes we have the boundaries where the modern healthcare, for example, they need the men to be there with their wives when they're delivering. Culturally, we are not allowed. We need to be away from that surrounding. But the modern medical care, they say you go and you give support and you scream when they scream, which is not very acceptable. But I think as far as men are concerned, they need to have that understanding when they have the spouse is having such problems. They should be having an understanding that with fibroids it could be possible that such interactions will be painful or something like that. Yes.
So once someone is treated, can they go back to their normal life?
Yes. Fibroids are not a very serious issue once they are removed or medication is used to shrink them. People can go back to their normal life. Although in some circumstances you have people who have recurring fibroids, so they have to be regularly checked, and that's it. But some people, when they have fibroids, it shows. The stomach is extended. It could even be difficult for them to do certain jobs. Therefore, in such circumstances, it may be difficult. And in certain situations, maybe the doctors will also find it not very safe to do remedial surgical remedy, especially for people maybe with other complications and so on. So it may be a challenge. But normally, to a large extent, once the treatment has been done, somebody can go back to their routine work.
Your advice to women out there?
I think one thing that I want to say, especially about Muslim women and Muslims as a whole, they tend to want to say everything that afflicts them is the will of God. And therefore, that's a good thing to think, that everything that affects us, it's the will of God. However, some of the things that happen to us, it is the will of God also that we can get a cure. I want to cite the example of women who, when they have fibroids, they believe this is a condition, they will live with it. they don't get treatment, they don't do anything. So my suggestion is that people seek medical care. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Tadawi ibadallah, seek medication. For Allah, إن الله لم يضع داعا إلا وضع له دواء. Kwa Mwenyezi Mungu hakujalia, he didn't bring in any illness that there was no cure. But people may know or may not know the cure. So seeking medication is a good thing, is encouraged in Islam. So people, if you see any symptoms that you have a problem like that, seek medication. Yeah, it's part of our faith to seek medication, while it is still part of our faith to believe that what afflicts us is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and accept it. But seek help and seek medication from those who know. Again, the Quran teaches us to ask those experts in the different fields. We need to ask the doctors, we need to ask engineers in case of engineering problem. We need to ask social scientists in case of social problems. Now,